from as early as I can remember. I had stomach aches in the morning.
She would go to school, she would make it through part of school, but her stomach would hurt. And it would be especially after lunch that would start, after she ate lunch, it would start hurting the most, and she would call and ask to go to the nurse's station.
I couldn't do simple things like cut my food. My fingers were hurting too bad to be able to make them use properly, and then I would just break down.
As a mother, it was terrible to get those phone calls. She would call and she would be in so much pain, or she would be so upset, and there were always tears with the calls, so that's terrible to get that kind of call.
I mean, I always had to schedule my math and science classes. I did this intentionally at the beginning of the day because after lunch, out of it, completely out of it.
She would talk about how constipated she was and she couldn't go to the bathroom. She would talk about how swollen she was, and you could see the swelling. She was swollen, and her face was swollen, her hands were swollen, her joints were all swollen. We saw a family practice doctor, and that doctor sent us to all the other doctors.
I went through a lot of different procedures.
Whatever test they wanted to do, she would send us to the next doctor.
I went through colonoscopy, endoscopy.
They would say things like, the markers aren't showing up for rheumatoid arthritis, but we think that's what you have, so come back in 4 months, and here, take this in the meantime.
Tons of stuff, tons of just like one-on-one appointments, meeting with, telling them what's going on.
And at one point I did say to this doctor, the family doctor, what about celiac disease?
Blood tests and stress tests.
What if we checked into that before we did all this other stuff? And she said, oh, she doesn't have celiac disease.
The amount of things I was told I had by some of these medical doctors was unbelievable. I was told I had Crohn's disease, possibly had colon cancer. I probably had rheumatoid arthritis, like an early onset of rheumatoid arthritis. I was constantly in a state of panic.
So we really didn't know what to do, and I'd been talking to this doctor that I'd been seeing, and I took her to see him. He said, oh, this is pretty easy, and he was really calming, said, we can do something with this, and we're gonna start with these blood tests and these allergy tests, and we'll be able to tell you what it is.
I was allergic to bananas and then to wheat, barley, and rye, brewer's yeast, baker's yeast.
My first thought was, thank you, Lord, we can deal with this. This is an easy thing to deal with.
After about 3 months of eating gluten-free, I remember that being like just a totally different person. I felt like, oh my word, I feel so much better.
It was probably more overwhelming for me with everything that Steph couldn't eat and how we were gonna have to change things.
It definitely affects your social life. You feel high maintenance, and I hate that feeling. I hate the feeling of, oh, I can't eat this, oh, excuse me, especially when you're out with your friends. And then when people find out, they're wonderful. All the people I work with who know, are almost more cautious than I am about especially eating out.
And even now we'll be at a restaurant, and she's 25, she's lived on her own for quite a few years, and we'll be at a restaurant and she'll order something and I'll say, can you eat that? Can you order that? Yes, Mom, it's fine. Let's ask him. Let's get the chef out here and ask him if there's anything in that. Mom, it'll be just fine.
I wish I would have known, if you're going through this and you're starting out and you had no idea what this was, I would say the first thing I would tell anyone to do would be just get a food allergy test.
I'm a nurse, so I'm in the medical profession, and I know what the doctors and nurses say to some of those moms that are so pushy. So I didn't want to be one of those moms, but I regret that I didn't push, that I wasn't more aggressive, that I didn't trust what I had researched, what I had learned, and what my instincts were.
There's so much that you can do just in terms of input-output, just in terms of what you're digesting and what you're eating, that can fix so many problems.
This is your child, and this is their life, and this is what they're dealing with. This is their future too, so you need to really just be more aggressive and help them through all these symptoms.